Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you're listening. I want to congratulate you on taking the steps of bettering yourself and making yourself the expert in your field. Today we are joined by the one, the only Sherry Riano. What's up, Sherry?
Here.
How you doing?
Again, in the studio.
We are excited to have you back, and we are excited for today's topic. We're going to be talking about 3 actionable items to improve your 2024. Whether you are a real estate agent, a lender, title, no matter where you're at, I think these 3 things are applicable to you in your field. So without further ado, let's kind of dive right in.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So first thing we want to focus on is a business plan.
Got to have one.
Yeah.
You cannot run a business without a plan, right? It's
That's
like
it.
aimlessly running around.
No plan, no action.
None.
That's right. And with a business plan, it's all great to have just, things written down on paper that you want to do or you want your business to do, but without follow through, without really committing to that, you're really just writing down things and putting paper to pen, and that's
Aimlessly
it.
wandering is what
That's
you're
it.
doing, right?
That's exactly
if
right.
you don't have a plan, you don't know what steps to take.
Yep.
Or where to go to at least find the educational piece to get the steps that you might need to take.
That's it. And I think there's a lot of people in our industry that they love sitting down, developing a business plan. They love coming up with ideas on how they're going to be successful. But it's really the follow through point that, I think a lot of them get caught up on, to where they're not investing in themselves. They're not really doing the things that they need to do to perfect their craft. They're more just, hey, look, these are some things that I've heard works for other people, and I want to do that for me. And that's it.
Right. And I think a lot of times it's reluctancy, with agents and lenders to pick up the phone.
Yes.
And one of the best ways to start a great relationship is picking up the phone, talking to people. There's so many ways that things can get misunderstood in a text or in a email. And I find whenever I'm seeing some kind of what I perceive as unclarity, friction, whatever you might want to call it, I instantly pick up a phone.
That's right.
I just think that's something you got to do. So don't be afraid picking up the phone. Phone is your friend, not your enemy.
Yeah, there's so many things that get misconstrued in a text message and an email. I mean, just your tone in general. I mean, maybe you just, like me, when I get busy, I can get very direct and just hey, look, this is what I need. And I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but I generally come across as a little bit more extroverted. And so when I'm not doing those things, people think, hey, is everything okay? You having a bad day? That kind of stuff.
But it also can be what's going on in your world in that day.
Yeah.
And how maybe you're not having that great of a day. You left home, you're fussing with your spouse. It's not a great morning. All the slow drivers came in front of you. You had to get to work. By the time you get that text, you are on like Mach 9 anyway. So you're already kind of, and that right there can get something going that was never existed.
That's it. Next thing I think that really is going to help you within your 2024 is conversion. Knowing your numbers. I mean, have you sat back? Have you looked at your numbers? Do you know where your most successful leads come from? Do you know how many times it takes you to meet with a client to get buyer's agency? How many phone calls does it take to get them to commit? I mean, do you see a significant difference in you being with your client for them to place an offer? Or, is it better if they're by themselves so they have time to think? Just things like that.
It's got to go down to tracking. You have to know from the moment you get a lead to the point that you're sitting at a closing table, what did it take to get there? How many calls did I need to make? How many agencies did I need to put under contract? How many times did I have to show this set of clients' homes before it actually converted? It's very interesting that a lot of people have no idea. They get so excited. Somebody talked to me. Oh my God, now I have agency. Oh my God. And then they lose track and they move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But how can you hone a skill when you don't know how long it takes to go from point A to point Z?
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes in our industry, we tend to always look, for, a shiny thing to make that conversion work.
Yep.
And that conversion necessarily will not work based off of that solely.
Everyone's worried about counting W's, and no one's really worried about counting how many times it takes to get there. How many letters did it take you to get to W?
Yeah,
it's all about W's.
I read this book one time. It's called Working for the No. And if you haven't read it, you should. But I love working for no. You tell me no, good. Next. because the next one's going to be a yes. Everybody won't say no. Everybody won't say yes. So that's part of our industry. And I will be honest, whether you're a realtor or a lender or you work in the title side, I don't care where you work. If rejection bothers you, do not get into this business because you're going to be rejected. But it is not personal. It is just business.
That's it. That's it. And along with that, I think knowing your numbers, but also investing in your skills and developing your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. It's good to know exactly what you're good at and what you can naturally rely on. But at the same time, if you just enjoy the points that you're good at and you don't develop the areas that you're not good at, your game will always be missing something. You'll always be, maybe you're great in the paint, but you can't shoot a 3 to save your life. I mean, like, where are you needing to put more time?
If you're not growing, you're dying.
That's it.
Guaranteed. If you're not investing in yourself, no one's going to invest for you. And then, taking a snapshot every 6 months and seeing what worked today will not work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, no matter whether it's rates, inventory, there's all different facets in our world that could make that change every 6 months. So to take a reset every 6 months and just look at where you're going.
That's right.
Plus it'll help your whole year because maybe you're off your game for 6 months. Okay, well you still got 6 more months to make the game happen, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to take a look at that as well.
Especially for our lenders, this is so rates are so seasonal in how you need to give advice. Mm-hmm. In a market where you're seeing like right now, we're going into a year where we're seeing a lot of potential rate reductions. I mean, the Fed says 3, but I mean, we think it could be as much as 6 this year.
Could be.
You're not wanting to recommend someone buy down a ton of points. I mean, if you go to an online lender, you're going to get very A to B lending. When you go have that conversation, hey, look, I'm under contract with that rocket ship, but I want to give you a shot. Well, do you know how to have that conversation with the client where you're not going to ever benefit from this long term because you're refinancing in 18 months. Right. You're never going to receive. You're never going to see the buy down.
You're never going to have your break even point.
That's it.
But that's the difference between being a professional and being someone that's an order taker.
That's right.
And I hate to say it, a lot of order takers in our business. So when you're out there shopping, don't just, if somebody sells you a rate and says, okay, this one lender said, they can give me, I'm just going to use this abstractly, of course, 2%, and this other lender's going to give me 2.5%, but the 2% is costing me $30,000. Hello.
That's right.
You better hold on to that mortgage for 15 years.
Yep.
And most mortgages convert and turn over every 5 years. So you just need to make sure that you've got sound financial advice and make sure that no matter who you work with on the lending side, is that they really understand your full picture.
That's right. And realtors, if your clients are willing to share their numbers with you, this is something that you can help them identify as well, where, hey, look, there's a ton of buy down. I mean, my local lender says not to buy down a ton right now. Maybe, giving them that little piece of information, helping them understand why this is not the best deal for them. You're going to come out smelling like roses if you can save somebody thousands of dollars.
It makes you look like the expert.
That's right.
That's what they hired you for as an agent. So it's just another notch in the crown for them. Another reason to come back. So let's talk about people coming back.
Yeah.
You know what that is? They're drilling down that database.
Database, man. Actively working your database. I have this conversation so often with agents like, hey, look, for the clients that you closed last year, clients that you closed in 2022, they heard from you lately? And it is
cricket.
Shocking how little you hear. You've developed a relationship with this person over 30 days, 6 months, possibly a year, to where you've tried to find this person a home. They have considered you in that moment to be their source for home ownership.
Absolutely.
And for you to just end the conversation the day they close, for one, on a buy side, for a buyer, it's going to make someone feel just like a means to an end. There was no true relationship there. There's a lot of trust from the buyer there.
Transactional
versus
relationship.
That's it.
You'll make a lot of money in this industry if you were a relationship. But if you were transactional, you're only as good as that one transaction, and they never come back to you. So what are you doing after the fact?
Yeah.
Are you, do they still know your name? Well, they can if you never contact them.
Right.
Right. And tell them how much value's happened in our area.
Yes.
They don't know right now. They got their tax bill. They know about that, and I'm sure they're excited. But what they don't realize is all the value they gained with it, right? And so right now, historically, we got a lot of credit card debt back out there again. People could tap into their equity in that house, get that paid off, save themselves a lot of money. And guess who told them they had the equity? Because maybe they didn't know. You.
That's right. Educating them on the in between. You know, maybe they do come back to you 2 years later, 3 years later, and they've, you know, maybe they're one of those people that 7 million babies born a year, 3 million marriages, 1.5 million divorces. Hopefully not, but maybe they were one of those.
But they're gonna be out there.
They're gonna be out there, and you know, educating your buyers, your clients, your relationships in between transactions not only solidifies a relationship, but also keeps you front of mind if they hear somebody saying, hey, you know, I'm actually thinking about selling. Oh, you've got to talk to so-and-so. Like, not only did they help me out, but they called me 6 months ago, said, we've had a ton of appreciation, and maybe we were considering doing that. They remember we were doing maybe a renovation or an upgrade to the kitchen.
Oh, we gonna have these twins.
We were gonna have these twins, and they said, hey, I thought of you the other day. You've got a ton of equity. Maybe you should consider tapping into that. Maybe adding on that extra room, adding that kitchen.
Absolutely.
You know, making sure that they think of you as not only just a transactional relationship, but this is an in between relationship. Like, hey, they're going to help me all the time. I am on their mind. Like, I'm a friend to them, and if I hear anything, I want to help my friend. I want to send my friend more business.
That is so true. I've seen that in this market a lot. There's a lot of great agents out there that are really, you know, pouring into their clients and making sure that they are known.
Yes.
Their words are heard, and they continue to build their business based off of that. And it's a lot easier than feeding the Zillow animal, as they call it, out there.
Name.
I just had to say the name. Everybody knows who it is. There's nothing wrong with it. I just said you had to feed them.
I at least said rocket ship. I didn't say it. I didn't burn them down.
Well, I didn't burn them down. They ain't gonna get burnt down. I can assure you. But it is what it is. But no matter where your lead source is, it's so much better to get that referral, that warm lead from someone that you really poured into, and then call them up. Hey, you know what? It's getting ready to be spring. I got a landscaping guy, right? I've got somebody that can paint the house, clean the gutters. If you need anybody, always be that source of information. We all have those people. We use them in our own lives. And of course, when you're an agent, you've constantly got to have your hands on somebody that can help in that way. And it's another way for you to also get some referrals back from those people. So it's a win-win.
And if maybe you're out there and you're like, I don't even know where the hell to collect this type of information. Like, where can I get seasonal information to send clients? Reach out to us. Our agents get seasonal updates on things that they can share with their buyers, resources they can share with their clients, all the ways to help them in between transaction and during each transaction. So reach out to us. We would love to help. And now it's time for Market in a Minute. This is where we give you an update on the conditions of the market week to week, no matter the topic of the show. This week, we saw an interesting survey from Bloomberg come out. 236 housing economists revealed an expectation of interest rates to drop to 5.5% in 2023. Now, we saw a 5.5% expectation come out last year sometime, but then we also saw a slight change, and maybe they're not going to drop as fast. We saw the Fed kind of playing duck and hide with this interest rate expectation for a little while. So it's interesting to hear that number come out once again. Another article showed a 50-50 chance or expectation for the Fed's first cut in March. Now, we saw some Fed members in December and even in early January saying that may have to be pushed back a little bit. So to see a 50-50 shot or a 50% expectation in March is interesting to hear, especially as, rumblings of, a possible recession in the second and third quarter starting to show up as we get closer and closer to this Fed announcement. I do expect the Fed announcement to be kind of mum on any expectations in January, but we'll kind of see. Well, this has been a Mortgage Mindset with the Sherry Riano team, with Sherry herself today. I want you to hit that subscribe, hit that follow button. We want you to be the expert. We're here to help you, and we want to make sure that you understand what you're doing. You're being the professional out there, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. The Mortgage Mindset Podcast is hosted by the Sherry Riano team at Clear Mortgage, powered by City First Mortgage Services, LLC. Sherry Riano's NMLS ID is 71774. Visit us at thesherryrianoteam.com for more information about our team.
The opinions expressed on this show by the hosts and their guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Clear Mortgage or City First Mortgage Services. Please note that Clear Mortgage is powered by City First Mortgages, LLC, and their NMLS ID is 3117. Clear Mortgage and City First Mortgage Services is not an agency of the federal government and is not acting on behalf of or the direction of HUD, FHA. City First Mortgage Services is an equal housing lender. Programs, rates, and terms subject to change without notice. Underwriting terms and conditions apply.